We recently chartered this beautiful Fountaine Pajot Tanna 47. We spent 9 nights and sailed around the British Virgin Islands. We wanted to share with you our thoughts. So here on the foredeck, we have a nice lounging area for yoga or whatever. Nice and quiet up here compared to back there where the engine is and the people are. It's a good getaway spot.
Skybridge area, which just goes and goes and goes, and there's my dear. And then you've got these 2 comfy seats.
You do have to be mindful of the boom, but there's plenty of room if you're sitting or lounging.
And then gosh, you've got this Skybridge that has these 2 nice lounges, but then oh my gosh, I mean, you've got all that, all this, and then you know, you've got where I'm sitting too. So, and I mean, this is just the Skybridge area.
And then to get down to the cockpit, oh, it's just huge down here. There's this seat, and there's a big couch there, and a big sitting area here, and even another like place up there to be. This is where we spent a large amount of time, and it really accommodated us well, more than what we needed. With the sliding door open and the sliding window open, it gave great access to the galley and the salon.
So this is what it's like in the aft cockpit under power. And because there's 2 good-sized diesel engines working away, you hear it a little bit.
So there's a sliding glass door into the salon, and just a tremendously large salon too. We have brought cross breeze with the windows, a freezer here, and then another refrigerator. It looks like a 2-drawer refrigerator here. There's a nice regular size oven. It's a 3-burner stove, a nice sink, the microwave.
So this is pretty darn cool. Here's the beautiful galley, holy moly. And I was just doing some stuff. I had to throw a few things out. You just pick that up, and the garbage container's right down there, and then for exit out there.
It's the little things, right?
A lot of little things, and such
that make us
a
happy.
lovely galley.
There's the television. 4 of us were very comfortable in the salon, but any more would have been crowded. Here's one of the cabins. And every cabin has its own head with a nice shower. And then here, this cabin is a little bit bigger back here. Here's some more stowage. It's a little bigger cabin here. Nice closet space here. I like how those handles work. Nice big cabin here. This is a crew cabin, but it can also just be, ooh, it's warm in there, used for extra storage. And there is a hatch for dropping down in here too. Okay, this is the owner cabin, or the main cabin here. There's the bed and a nice desk area, lots of stowage. And then here is the bathroom, and here's the water closet.
Look at this sink.
And here is the massive shower that my husband will actually be able to stand up in. Yeah, that is a huge sink. Oh my goodness. We neglected to show the huge storage below the counter and behind the mirrors. So I'm really thrown off because we're on this boat, but it doesn't look or feel like a boat. So I walk across the floor and I find myself almost falling because the boat moves, but I don't feel like I'm in a boat, so I don't expect it to move. And look how huge the space is. And then there's just tons and tons of storage. Hanging closet. This is the door to get up. And then look at all this massive storage here. 3 drawers. These are storage. And then there's all of this storage over here. So we don't even need it all. Look, there's even a hamper built in. Isn't that crazy? And then all these cupboards down here, and then alongside the bed over here. It's crazy.
This is just kind of cool to show from the owner's cabin. This is the view out our aft window, and then also we have out our port. It's so giant, I'll call it a window.
Look how easy it is to get around on these side decks.
The Helm station on this boat is a work of art. Positives are great visibility forward and to starboard, and incredible control of the boat with the 2 engine controls. That's what I used for steering when I was in anchorages and just kept the wheel straight. Negatives are you cannot see aft to port basically at all, and in a heavy squall you would get very wet. You would have to add isinglass protection.
The winches are all right here, easy to get to. 2 of the winches were electric and could be operated just in front of the helm, or for convenience there was a button on the side deck so that you could see the sail while you raised it.
Oh, it blew out. It was in and then it blew out.
In 20 knots of breeze, a pretty fair headache with the windage. You just have to be really subtle with opposite engines to keep it into the wind. But with the windage on a big cat, the wind really tries to blow you off the wind, and then you can't get the leach of the main between the lazy jacks.
There's a davits for the dinghy, which can be lowered and raised with a remote. Getting on and off the dinghy or accessing the water could be done on port and starboard side via the 2 swim steps. Subway lights not only attracted some interesting visitors, but it also made it easier to find the boat when coming back on the dinghy.
We are aboard sailing vessel Ithaca, a nearly immaculately kept vessel by BVI Yacht Charters. We can't recommend them highly enough. This vessel is a Fountaine Pajot Tanna 47, which is actually 46 feet long, and the beam is about 24 feet. The draft is about 4 feet, and awfully beautiful vessel.
Boy, we've really enjoyed our time here on this beautiful vessel. It's our first time on a catamaran. So there was lots of things that just make it so luxurious. I can't get over how amazing having that. We had a 3-cabin version, and I can't get over how amazing it was to have that huge stateroom down below with a full-size, pretty much full-size shower. Yeah. And bathroom, a large vanity area, and so much storage. And just looking at the other cabins, there's tons of storage there as well. Huge salon and galley, and cockpit. So many places to go and hang out that sometimes we couldn't find each other, the 4 of us.
Yeah. Boy, I thought the Skybridge was fabulous. Right at the end of the trip, finally, after about 8 days of sailing together, I was on the Helm and everyone else was in the Skybridge, so we were all close by. A lot of the time underway, we were all kind of separate in different places on the vessel. I also love the forward area. There's 3 beautiful chaises with integrated pillows. And one evening, or a couple evenings, I was lying there looking at the stars, one with my dear sweetie. That was beautiful.
I think the reason why you didn't see us much up on the Skybridge is just because of the sun. There's no shade up there. If the sun's at the right angle, you can kind of use the boom to shade you. The other challenge is if it's a really rolly day where there's lots of swells, it's not very comfortable up there. You want to get it lower if possible, which is what we tended to do.
Yeah, I guess on rough days they say that because that's going to amplify your motion being way up high, you could potentially get more seasick. I think you got a little bit seasick a few days, right?
Yeah, I would say that the people tell you, oh, on a catamaran you're not going to get seasick. That is a total myth. The other thing that was amazing is the amount of refrigerator space. There was 2 refrigerator drawers in the galley and 1 in the cockpit, and that came in very handy.
Absolutely. Really, really beautiful. So, I mean, overall, a really gorgeous vessel. This, the aft cockpit is absurd. I mean, this table is, I don't know, probably, it's, I don't know, 6 feet long. And by the way, that's the vanity you mentioned in the owner's cabin. I'd have to measure it, but I believe it's 8 feet long.
Wow.
On a sailboat. And that was pretty incredible. So we could, have our stuff spread out, and then they had all of these cubbies, so then you could put it all away and keep it nice too.
Well, speaking of it being a sailboat, what did you think about sailing it, honey?
Yeah, so sailing, that was kind of a shock. So there was one day where we were heading from Joost van Dyke up to Bitterman Yacht Club, and along the way it got pretty windy and there was some swell just in the high 2 feet to low 3 feet range, and Doug and I were trying to work it going upwind. We could nibble, and they say with cats, don't pinch. So nibbling a little, we were getting maybe 58 degrees off the wind and driving the boat fairly well. However, cats seem to have a lot more leeway than monohulls. And so when we looked at our tracks later, we were getting like 80 degrees, maybe not even 80 degrees after you counted the leeway. So for upwind sailing, I'm sure there are cat aficionados out there who know how to get these babies upwind a little better. But I will say, I mean, I raced dinghies for 20 years in youth and did really well with it. And actually that was my forte, was getting boats upwind. I had a lot of nationals where most of the races I'd be in first at the first upwind mark. Not necessarily later, but I was really good at getting upwind. And then, by the way though, let's clarify. So for sailing on a beam reach or off the wind, no problem. So like if you're doing a trade wind sail and maybe you're wanting to go from the Cape Verde Islands all the way across to the Caribbean and get it as a downwind sail, or you're going to want to go from the west coast of California to Hawaii, you're going to have a spectacular, relatively pleasant experience. Overall, we absolutely love the boat. I would say, I mean, this is an incredible boat.
If you were trying to choose something where you could live full time, this 3-cabin version is like the bomb for living full time with the amount of storage and space you have in the owner's cabin.
One other small thing to add that I liked about sailing vessel Ithaca as well is that it was surprisingly relatively fuel efficient. This particular boat is equipped with 2 Volvo engines. Don't know for sure, but I'm guessing they're both somewhere around 75 horsepower each. And to move the boat along at about 7.5 knots or a little above, that was at 2,000 RPM, it wasn't burning much fuel, so that is pretty impressive. Although that's just based on the fuel gauges. Let's see, today will be our 9th day of sailing, and with 9 days we won't have used anywhere near half the fuel on board. And of course fuel tanks can be weighted toward going slow at the first half and fast at the second half. So it may be that we've used more fuel than I realized, but yeah, but we were reading up on that cats are somewhat more fuel efficient than monohulls.
Thank you for watching. In the not so distant future, we plan to be rejoicing by land in France and rejoicing by sail in Greece.